The woman on my couch crossed her legs the way I do. She adjusted the sleeve of my sweater, smoothing it twice at the wrist. I watched her through the hallway camera feed on my phone. My bedroom light was still on. No one should have been in there. I didn't move. I stood in the dark just inside the garage keys still in my hand. My heart didn't race. It tightened. Like something small had been pulled too hard and didn't snap. Not yet. I didn't open the door. I didn't call out. I didn't breathe the way I usually do. I watched. Then I closed the app. And for a second I saw my reflection in the black screen. I looked familiar. Just not certain. That was the moment everything shifted. Not when I saw her. When I realized she knew how to be me. I stepped back into the car and sat there, engine off. The garage smelled like cardboard and dust and something faintly sweet from an old candle. I kept the keys in my hand. I didn't go inside. Not yet. I drove away. Slowly. No rush. Like I had all the time in the world. Like nothing had happened. That's the part I keep thinking about. How calm I was. How ordinary it felt. Like I had just forgotten something at the store. And needed to go back later. That night didn't start there. It started months earlier. With something small. Something easy. Something I said yes to without thinking. Every Saturday my husband told me he'd handle things at home. He said it casually. Like it was a favor. Like he was giving me time. You should go see your mom, he'd say. You never take a break. I would nod. I didn't argue. There wasn't anything to argue about. We'd been married for 23 years. We had a system. We had routines. He handled the yard. I handled the bills. We shared everything else in ways that didn't need to be said out loud. At least that's what I believed. Saturday nights became his. That's how I thought of them. His nights to reset the house. To clean. To cook something simple for the week. To watch whatever he wanted without me asking questions about the plot. And mine. Mine to drive across town to my mother's house. She lived 15 minutes away. Same street she'd been on for 40 years. Same blue shutters. Same creak in the front steps. I would bring groceries sometimes. Soup. Bread. Tea she never finished. We would sit in her living room and talk about things that didn't matter. Or things that mattered too much. She'd ask about my husband. I'd say he's good. She'd ask about the house. I'd say it's fine. We didn't dig deeper. Not because we couldn't. Because we didn't need to. That's what I told myself. I didn't question the arrangement. It made sense. I worked full-time at a medical billing office. Long hours. Numbers. Phone calls that never ended cleanly. People who needed answers I didn't always have. By Saturday, I was tired in a way that didn't show on the outside. So when he said, "Go rest," I went. I left the house with my bag, my keys, and whatever version of myself I had left at the end of the week. I always left my keys on the entry table before picking them up again. A small habit. A pause. Like I was handing something over before I walked out. The house always felt right when I came back. That's the word I would have used then. Right. The counters were clean. The dishwasher empty. Laundry folded in neat stacks that didn't look like mine. He folded differently. Tighter. More exact. At first I thought it was thoughtful. Attentive. The kind of thing people notice in other marriages and say, "You're lucky." Maybe I was. That's what I told myself. But there were small things. Not wrong. Just not the same. A shirt turned inside out in a way I don't do. A glass in the sink instead of the dishwasher. A scent that didn't belong to anything I owned. Light. Almost gone by morning. I noticed. Then I didn't. Or I told myself I didn't. He never acted different. He kissed me hello. He asked about my mom. He listened when I spoke. Or he looked like he did. That's harder to tell now. Looking back, I think he was always listening. Just not in the way I thought. We had dinner together on Sundays. Always at the same time. 6 o'clock. Plates on the table. News on in the background. We talked about small things. Neighbors. Bills. The church group he stopped attending but still mentioned. I didn't press. There's a point in a marriage where pressing feels unnecessary or dangerous. I didn't know which one applied to us, so I chose neither. I kept things smooth, predictable. That's how we lived. Until the night my mother said something she had never said before. We were sitting in her living room. The lamp beside her chair flickered once, then settled. She was watching me. Not in the usual way. Not casual. Not distracted. Focused. Like she was trying to remember something. Or forget it. I asked if she wanted more tea. She didn't answer right away. She reached for my hand instead. Her fingers were colder than usual. She held on longer than she needed to. Then she said it. Go home, now. No explanation. No story. Just that. I didn't argue. I stood up. Picked up my bag. Kissed her on the cheek. She didn't smile. She didn't walk me to the door. She stayed in her chair, watching. I drove back faster than I meant to. The streets were empty. Saturday nights in our neighborhood usually were. Porch lights on. Televisions glowing behind curtains. Lives contained neatly inside square footage and mortgage payments. I pulled into the driveway. The house looked the same. No lights on in the front. Garage door closed. Nothing unusual. I sat there for a second, listening to the engine. Then I turned it off, and everything went quiet. I opened the garage, stepped inside, closed it behind me. That's when I saw the light under the door. My bedroom light. Still on. I stood there, and I knew. Not what was happening. But that something had already happened. And I was late to it. I didn't go inside. I took out my phone. Opened the camera app. Scrolled to the hallway feed. And I saw her. Sitting on my couch. Wearing my clothes. I didn't answer. I didn't react. I just watched. And understood one thing. This wasn't new. I just hadn't seen it before. I drove past my own house without stopping. The porch light was off. It always was by 10. He was consistent about that. I kept my eyes forward. I didn't slow down. I didn't look again. I turned at the corner and kept driving. There was a grocery store still open 2 miles away. Fluorescent lights. Half-empty parking lot. People moving slowly between aisles like time didn't matter there. I parked under a light. I stayed in the car. My phone was still in my hand. The camera app closed. The screen went dark. I didn't reopen it. Not yet. I rested my forehead on the steering wheel. Just for a second. Then I sat back. I didn't cry. That surprised me. I expected something louder. More obvious. But nothing came. Just a quiet awareness. Like stepping into a room you've been in before but noticing a door you never saw. I watched a woman return a cart to the rack. She checked her phone before getting in her car. Normal. Everything looked normal. That's what made it harder. I went inside. I bought things I didn't need. Milk. Bread. A small container of soup. I stood in line behind a man arguing quietly on his phone. Something about a payment. Something about you said it was handled. I looked away. At the magazines. At the candy. At nothing. When I got back to the car, I didn't start the engine. I opened the camera app again. The living room was empty. The couch looked like it always did. Pillows arranged. Blanket folded over the arm. No sign of her. I zoomed in. There was a crease in the cushion. Not new. Not old. Just there. I switched to the bedroom camera. The light was off now. The bed was made. Tight corners. Not how I leave it. I watched for a few more seconds. Nothing moved. I locked my phone. Set it down. And finally I drove home. Slow. Measured. Like I was arriving at someone else's house. The garage door opened the same way. A slight delay. Then the hum. I stepped inside. Closed it behind me. The light under the bedroom door was gone. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I stood there longer than necessary. Listening. For movement. For breathing. For anything that didn't belong. Nothing. I opened the door. The bedroom was exactly as I saw it on the camera. Bed made. Lamp off. My sweater was not where I left it that morning. It was folded. On the chair. Perfectly. I walked over. I picked it up. Held it for a second. Then I set it back down. In the same place. I didn't check the closet. Not yet. I moved through the house slowly. Kitchen. Empty. Sink clean. Counters wiped. A faint scent of something citrus. Not what I use. Living room. Couch still. The crease in the cushion remained. I sat down where she had been. I didn't think about it. I just did it. I placed my hands on my knees. Like she had. I noticed that. And I didn't like it. I stood up. Too quickly. I walked to the hallway. Looked at the camera mounted near the ceiling. A small black square. Silent. Neutral. It had always been there. For security. That's what we called it. I had never really used it. Not until tonight. I went back to the bedroom. Opened the closet. Everything looked right. My dresses. My jackets. Shoes lined up. But something felt shifted. Not missing. Adjusted. Like someone had learned the system. I closed the door. Gently. I heard the front door open. I didn't jump. I turned. He walked in like he always did. Keys in his hand. Jacket over his arm. He stopped when he saw me. Just for a second. Then he smiled. "You're home early." His voice was steady. "Even?" I nodded. "Yeah." A beat. He looked at my bag. At the groceries on the counter. "You went to the store." I needed a few things. He set his keys down. "On the table." "In the same spot I use?" I noticed that. He looked around the house. Not searching. Checking. "Everything in place." "How's your mom?" he asked. "She's fine." I didn't say more. He didn't ask more. That was our pattern. He walked into the kitchen. Opened the fridge. Looked inside. Closed it. "You want something to eat?" he asked. Number. I watched him. The way he moved. Familiar. But now I was looking differently. Not as his wife. As someone observing. He poured himself a glass of water. Drank it halfway. Set it down. "You okay?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. I watched his face. His eyes. Nothing gave. "I'm fine." He nodded. Like that was enough. Like it always had been. He didn't ask why I came back early. Not really. Not in a way that needed an answer. He accepted it. That felt wrong. I went back to the living room. Sat down again. Not in the same spot this time. He joined me a minute later. Sat on the other end of the couch. A comfortable distance. That's what we used to call it. Comfortable. We watched television. Or something was on. I didn't pay attention. I felt the space between us. Measured. Intentional. At one point he leaned forward. Adjusted the pillow beside him. Smoothed it. Twice. At the edge. The way she had smoothed the sleeve. I looked at his hands. He didn't notice. Or he pretended not to. "I might stay home next Saturday," I said. Casual. Light. He didn't react immediately. Then he nodded. "Sure." Another beat. "If you want." If I want. I let that sit. I didn't push. Not tonight. We sat there until the show ended. Until the room felt heavier. Until the quiet wasn't comfortable anymore. I stood up. "I'm going to bed." He nodded. "I'll be in soon." I walked to the bedroom. Closed the door behind me. I didn't turn on the light. I stood in the dark. Let my eyes adjust. The room looked the same. It always does. That's the thing about rooms. They hold shape better than truth. I sat on the edge of the bed. I didn't lie down. I listened. To his footsteps. To the sound of the television turning off. To the water running in the sink. Everything normal. Everything in place. Except one thing. I wasn't sure who I was in this house anymore. And I wasn't sure how long that had been true. I lay back. Stared at the ceiling. Didn't close my eyes. Because I knew something now. Something I couldn't unknow. I wasn't the only one living my life. I woke before the alarm. The house was quiet in that early way that feels almost respectful. Light came in through the blinds in thin, even lines. I stayed still. Listened. No movement in the hallway. No footsteps in the kitchen. Just the low hum of the refrigerator. I turned my head. He was already gone. His side of the bed was made. Tight corners. Not how I do it. I sat up slowly. My sweater was still on the chair. Folded. Perfect. I left it there. I got dressed. Not carefully. Just enough. Jeans. A blouse I hadn't worn in a while. I noticed that too. I used to choose things differently. I went into the kitchen. Coffee was already made. He does that on Sundays. Has for years. The pot was half full. Warm. I poured a cup. Took a sip. Too strong. Not how I make it. I stood there for a moment, holding the mug, looking at the counter. Nothing out of place. Nothing wrong. And still, something wasn't mine. I set the mug down, untouched. I picked up my keys, the same pause at the entry table, the same habit. But this time I didn't set them down first. I held on to them. And I left. My mother's house looked the same. Blue shutters. Front steps that creaked on the second board. I knocked once, then opened the door. She was in her chair. The same one by the window. She looked up. No surprise. Like she had been waiting. "You're early," she said. "I didn't sleep much." She nodded. That was enough. I sat down across from her. We didn't speak right away. That wasn't new. Silence had always been easy between us. But this silence felt focused. Like it had somewhere to go. She watched me. Not casually. Carefully. "You saw something," she said. Not a question. I didn't answer. I looked at my hands instead. They were still. Too still. "She was in my house," I said. The words came out flat. No emotion attached. She was wearing my clothes. My mother didn't react the way I expected. No shock. No questions. She just nodded. I thought so. I looked up. "What do you mean?" She leaned back slightly. Adjusted the blanket on her lap. "I drove by your house last week," she said. "I had a doctor's appointment on that side of town." I waited. "I saw someone in your window," she continued. "Not you." A pause. She moved differently. I felt something shift in my chest. Not fear. Recognition. "Why didn't you say anything?" She looked at me for a long moment. "I didn't know what you were ready to hear." That landed harder than anything else. I looked away. At the window. At the trees outside that hadn't changed in years. "When did this start?" she asked. I thought about it. The Saturdays. The routines. The small things. "I don't know," I said. "That's the problem." She nodded again. Slow. Measured. "You stopped being in your own life a while ago." I didn't answer. Because I knew she was right. Not in a dramatic way. In a quiet one. The kind that doesn't announce itself. It just replaces things. I trusted him, I said. It sounded smaller when I said it out loud. She didn't respond to that. Not directly. "Trust isn't something you hand over and forget about," she said. "It's something you stay inside of." I let that sit. "I don't think he thinks he's doing anything wrong," I added. That surprised me. That thought. But it felt true. My mother didn't argue. "That doesn't make it right," she said. "Number." We sat there. The clock on the wall ticked. Louder than usual. Or maybe I was just hearing it now. "What are you going to do?" she asked. I didn't have an answer. Not yet. "I went back last night," I said. "I didn't go inside right away." She waited. I watched her on the camera. I swallowed. She knew where everything was. My mother closed her eyes for a second, then opened them. Of course she did. I looked at her. She's been there before. Not a question. A statement. Yes. The word felt heavy. Final. I leaned forward. Rested my elbows on my knees. "I don't know what this is," I said. "Or how far it goes." My voice stayed even. That was new. Usually I would fill the space. Explain. Soften. I didn't. Then don't decide yet, she said. Just look. I frowned slightly. At what? At everything. She gestured lightly with her hand. The way he speaks to you. The way you answer. The way that house feels when you walk in. I thought about that. The feeling. Not the facts. That's not something I've been paying attention to, I admitted. I know. There was no judgment in her voice. Just clarity. I stood up. Walked to the kitchen. Opened the cabinet. Took out 2 cups. Made tea. The same one I always bring her. Chamomile. I poured the water. Let it sit. Watched the steam rise. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I brought the cups back. Set one beside her. She took it. Held it. Didn't drink. Stay here tonight, she said. It wasn't a request. I shook my head. Not yet. A pause. I need to go back. She looked at me carefully. Not stopping me. Just measuring. Then don't go back as the same person, she said. I let out a small breath. Not quite a laugh. I don't think I can. No, she agreed. You can't. We sat there a while longer. Not talking. Just holding the moment in place. Before it moved again. Before I did. When I stood to leave, she didn't follow me to the door. She rarely does. But this time she said something as I reached for the handle. Don't confront him yet. I turned. Why not? Because you're still trying to understand it as his wife. A beat. You need to see it as yourself. I nodded. That made sense. More than anything else had. I stepped outside. The air felt different. Or maybe I did. I got into my car. Sat there for a second. Hands on the wheel. I didn't start the engine right away. I thought about the house. About the couch. About the way she crossed her legs. The way he smoothed the pillow. The way everything fit too well. And for the first time, I didn't feel confused. I felt aware. I turned the key and drove back. Not to return. To look, I didn't go in through the front. I used the garage. Same way I always do. The door slid up with that slight delay. Then the hum. I stepped inside and let it close behind me. I didn't turn on the light. I stood in the dark for a moment. Let the house settle around me. No television. No music. Just the quiet. I moved to the door that leads inside. I didn't open it right away. I listened. Footsteps. 2 sets. Soft. Unhurried. I opened the door. Slow. The kitchen light was on. Warm. Normal. She stood at the counter. My blouse. My jeans. Her hair pulled back the way I do when I'm cooking. He stood beside her. Close. Not touching. Talking low. I didn't catch the words. I didn't need to. I stepped into the room. They both looked up. No one screamed. No one moved fast. Time didn't break. It held. He spoke first. You're home. Simple. Even. Like I had come back from the store. I nodded. I am. She didn't say anything. She turned slightly. Facing me. I saw her clearly now. Not younger. Not older. Just positioned. That's the word. Positioned where I used to be. I set my keys on the table. Not in my usual spot. A little to the left. I watched him notice that. A flicker. Then gone. This is Claire, he said. He didn't rush it. He didn't hesitate. He said her name like it had always been part of the room. I looked at her. Hi. My voice didn't shake. She nodded. Hi. Her tone was careful. Measured. Practiced. I noticed that. I noticed everything. No one apologized. No one explained. We stood there like 3 people who understood the scene from different angles. He gestured toward the counter. We were just finishing up dinner. I glanced at the stove. Pasta. Sauce I didn't make. Garlic. Too much of it. She stirred the pot once. Then set the spoon down. Exactly where I would have. I walked past them, into the living room, sat down. Not in my usual spot. I left that one empty. They followed a minute later. He sat across from me. She stood for a second, then sat beside him. Not touching, but aligned. That mattered more. I folded my hands in my lap. I didn't speak first. He did. This isn't what it looks like. I didn't answer. I let the sentence sit in the room. He looked at me, waiting. I tilted my head slightly. What does it look like? He exhaled. Not frustrated. Just preparing. It's complicated. I nodded once. Then keep it simple. A pause. He glanced at her. She didn't speak. He turned back to me. I didn't plan this the way it happened. I watched his face. He believed that. That surprised me. She's been helping out, he added. With what? The house, things here. I looked around. At the room. At the couch. At the pillow he had smoothed the night before. It looks handled. My tone stayed even. That unsettled him more than anger would have. She needed a place for a while, he said. That's how it started. I nodded slowly. And the clothes? A beat. She didn't have much here. So she wore mine. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. I looked at her. Do they fit? She held my gaze. Yes. Not defensive. Not ashamed. Just factual. That landed. I leaned back slightly. Felt the couch under me. The same couch. Different weight. How long, I asked. He hesitated. Not long. Just enough. A few months. Months. I let that settle. Every Saturday. Every folded shirt. Every clean counter. I didn't look at him. I looked at the room. At the life I thought I knew. Rearranged. Quietly. You taught her, I said. Not a question. He didn't deny it. She asked. I almost smiled at that. Almost. And you answered. Yes. Claire shifted slightly. I noticed that. She was watching me now. Not him. Me. Trying to read something. I kept my face still. Why Saturdays, I asked. He rubbed his hands together once. A small habit. When you were out. That was the point. He nodded. Yes. I leaned forward. Rested my elbows on my knees. And when was I supposed to come back into this? Silence. He didn't have an answer. Not one he could say out loud. Claire spoke then. Soft. We didn't mean to replace you. I turned my head toward her. Slow. You didn't mean to. She held my gaze. Number. I nodded. That's not how it works. A pause. You don't have to mean it. The room went quiet again. He looked down. At his hands. She looked at me. Still. I stood up. Not abruptly. Just done sitting. I'm not going to fight you, I said. My voice was steady. Calm. That surprised all of us. I'm not going to ask you to leave tonight. He looked up. Relief flickered. Then uncertainty. I walked toward the hallway. Paused. Turned back. This isn't about her, I said. It's about what you did with me. He didn't answer. He couldn't. I went into the bedroom. Closed the door. Didn't lock it. I stood there in the dark. Let the shape of the room settle again. I didn't cry. Not yet. I looked at the bed. At the corners. Tight. Not mine. I sat down. Hands on my knees. Same position. Different meaning. In the other room I heard their voices. Low. Careful. I didn't listen. I didn't need to. I understood enough now. Enough to know this wasn't a moment. It was a pattern. A system. A quiet decision repeated until it became normal. And I had been the only one not included. I lay back. Stared at the ceiling. And for the first time, I didn't think about what I had lost. I thought about what had been taken. And how long I had helped make it easy. I woke before they did. Or before they came into the room. I couldn't tell which. The house was still. The kind of stillness that follows a decision, not a night's sleep. I sat up slowly. The bed was made tight around me. Not by me. I noticed that again. I swung my legs over the side. Sat there for a minute. Hands on my knees. Same posture. Different awareness. I stood. Walked to the closet. Opened it. Everything was where it should be. Which was the problem. Nothing was missing. Nothing was wrong. Everything had been learned. I reached for a dress. Then stopped. It didn't feel like mine. Not in the way it used to. I let it go. Closed the closet. Went into the bathroom. My toothbrush was in the cup. Beside another one. New. Still clean at the base. I stared at it. A small thing. A quiet thing. I picked it up. Turned it over. Set it back exactly where it had been. I washed my face. Looked at myself in the mirror. No visible change. Same lines. Same eyes. Same woman. But something had shifted behind it. Something that didn't show. I dried my hands. Walked out into the hallway. They were in the kitchen. Talking. Low. Not hiding it. Not anymore. I stepped in. They stopped. Of course they did. He looked at me first. Morning? I nodded. Morning. Claire stood at the counter. Coffee already made. She poured a cup. Set it down. In front of him. Then she paused. Looked at me. Do you want some? She asked. Polite. Measured. I shook my head. No. I walked past them. Opened the fridge. Looked inside. Closed it. Nothing had changed. And everything had. He watched me. Carefully now. Trying to read something. Trying to find the right version of me to speak to. I was going to call you this morning, he said. I didn't respond. I leaned against the counter. Not facing them. Just present. I thought we could talk, he added. I turned slightly. We are. A pause. That's not what I meant. I know. Claire stepped back. Gave space. But she didn't leave. That mattered. She stayed. Not as a guest. As someone with position. I felt that clearly. And for the first time, I saw the shape of it. Not just what he did, but what I had become inside it. I turned fully now. Looked at both of them. You didn't just bring someone into the house, I said. My voice was calm. Steady. You brought her into a role. He frowned slightly. That's not. It is. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. She cooks the way I cook. She folds the way I fold. She sits the way I sit. I looked at Claire. Not accusing. Just stating. You learned me. She didn't deny it. Yes. A single word. No apology. No defense. That landed harder than anything else. I nodded once. Of course you did. I looked back at him. And you let it happen. He ran a hand through his hair. Frustrated now. Because it worked, he said. The words came out before he could soften them. We all heard it. He paused. Too late. But he didn't take it back. I let the silence stretch. Worked, I repeated. He nodded slowly. Yes. For what? For keeping things stable. Stable. I almost smiled again. Almost. You mean quiet? He didn't answer. I stepped away from the counter. Walked into the living room. They followed. Not right away. But they came. I sat down. In my spot this time. Deliberately. He noticed. Claire noticed. Good. I folded my hands in my lap. I stopped being here a while ago, I said. Not to them. To the room. To myself. You just filled the space. He shook his head. That's not fair. No, I agreed. It's not. I looked at him. But it's accurate. He looked down. Then back up. You pulled away, he said. Quiet. Careful. I didn't know how to reach you. I let that sit. There was truth in it. That was the problem. I didn't pull away, I said. I settled. A beat. There's a difference. Claire shifted slightly. I saw it. She was listening now. Not just watching. You didn't ask for more, he said. Neither did you. Another silence. This one heavier. Because it belonged to both of us. I leaned back. Felt the couch under me. Familiar. And not. You didn't replace me, I said. Soft. Clear. You replaced the version of me that was easiest to live with. He stared at me. Didn't speak. Claire looked between us, trying to place herself in the sentence. I didn't include her. Not really. This wasn't about her. Not in the way they thought. I stood up. Walked to the hallway. Paused. Turned back. I'm not going to stay here, I said. No anger. No drama. Just a decision. He blinked. You're leaving. I'm stepping out of something that's already been rearranged. Claire looked down. For the first time. Not confident. Not positioned. Just aware. I went into the bedroom. Picked up a small bag. Not much. Just enough. I didn't pack everything. I didn't need to. Most of it didn't feel like mine anymore. When I came back out, they were standing where I left them. Same positions. Same distance. I walked past them. To the door. I picked up my keys. Didn't pause this time. Didn't set them down. I held on to them. That mattered. I opened the door. Stepped outside. The air felt different. Clearer. Or maybe I was. I closed the door behind me. Not gently. Not loudly. Just closed. I didn't look back. Not yet. I got into my car. Sat there for a second. Hands on the wheel. I thought about the house. About the routines. About the version of me that had lived there. And I realized something. She hadn't been taken. She had been accepted. Quietly. Repeatedly. Until there was nothing left to take. I started the engine. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel replaced. I felt removed. And that was something I could work with. I didn't go far. I drove back to my mother's house. Same blue shutters. Same second step that creaks. I noticed it again when I walked in. She was in her chair. Waiting. She didn't ask anything. She looked at the bag in my hand. Then at my face. That's enough, she said. I nodded. That's enough. I set the bag down by the door. Not in the corner. Not tucked away. In the open. That felt different. I went into the kitchen. Filled a glass with water. Drank it slowly. My hands were steady. Still steady. That surprised me. I expected something to break by now. Something loud. It didn't. It just shifted. My mother didn't follow me. She gave me space. That's something she's always known how to do. Not absence. Space. There's a difference. I walked back into the living room. Sat down across from her. We didn't speak right away. We didn't need to. She studied me. Not for answers. For changes. You're quieter, she said. I'm clearer. She nodded. That's better. I leaned back. Looked around the room. Nothing had changed here. That mattered. Did you confront him? She asked. Yes. And I took a breath. He didn't think he was replacing me. She raised an eyebrow. What did he think he was doing? Maintaining things. A pause. Keeping the house running. My mother let out a soft breath. Of course he did. I looked at her. You're not surprised. Number. She adjusted the blanket on her lap. Men don't always see what they remove. That stayed with me. Not as blame, as observation. I sat with it. He said it worked, I added. She didn't react. Not outwardly. But I saw something shift in her eyes. Did it? She asked. I thought about that. About the routines. The quiet. The absence of conflict. It worked for him, I said. And for you. I didn't answer right away. I let the question sit. I let it move through everything I had been holding. No, I said finally. It made me smaller. She nodded. Once? That was enough. I stood up. Walked to the hallway. There was a mirror there. Old. Slightly warped at the edges. I stood in front of it. Looked at myself. Really looked. Not checking. Not adjusting. Just seeing. My posture. My face. The way I held my shoulders. I didn't recognize parts of it. That didn't scare me. It clarified things. I reached up. Tucked my hair behind my ear. Then I let it fall back. I didn't fix it again. That felt intentional. I went back to the living room. "I'm not going back tonight," I said. My mother nodded. "I didn't think you would. I'm not going back as the same person." That's the point. We sat there for a while longer. The clock ticked. The light shifted slightly as afternoon moved. Nothing rushed. Nothing forced. Later I went to the spare room. The one I used growing up. It still held pieces of me. Old books. A dresser with a drawer that sticks. A bed that creaks when you sit on the edge. I sat there. On the edge. Hands on my knees. Same posture. But it felt different here. Not contained. Not assigned. Just mine. I opened the drawer. It stuck. I pulled harder. It gave. Inside were things I hadn't touched in years. Photos. Letters. A scarf I used to wear before I stopped choosing things for myself. I picked it up. Ran my fingers along the fabric. Soft. Worn. Still intact. I didn't remember when I stopped wearing it. I just knew I had. I set it beside me. I didn't put it back. That mattered. That night we ate dinner together. Simple. Soup. Bread. Nothing complicated. We talked about small things. Not the house. Not him. Just normal conversation. It didn't feel like avoidance. It felt like rebuilding space. After dinner I washed the dishes. My mother dried them. We moved around each other easily. No tension. No performance. Just familiarity. Later I sat by the window. Looked out at the street. Same street. Same quiet. Different awareness. I thought about the house. About the couch. About the way she had sat there. The way he had looked at her. The way he had looked at me. I didn't feel anger. Not in the way I expected. I felt distance. Clear. Measured. Like stepping back from something to see its shape. And seeing it for what it is. Not what it pretends to be. I realized something then. He didn't take anything from me that I hadn't already loosened my grip on. That wasn't blame. That was truth. And truth, when it's quiet enough, gives you room to move. I stood up. Went to the bedroom. The spare room. My room now. For now. I picked up the scarf again. Held it for a second. Then I put it on. Not for anyone else. Not to be seen. Just to feel it. To remember something I had forgotten. I lay down. The bed creaked. I didn't adjust. I let it be. The ceiling looked different here. Closer. More familiar. I closed my eyes. Not to sleep. Just to rest inside the space I had stepped back into. And for the first time in years, I wasn't trying to fit. I was just there. I went back on Tuesday. Not Saturday. That mattered. The house looked the same from the outside. Lawn trimmed. Mail tucked neatly into the slot. A flyer from the church group folded on the step. I picked it up. Smoothed the crease once. Then I left it on the table inside. Not in the stack. On top. Visible. I unlocked the door. The air inside was still. No music. No television. Just the low hum of the refrigerator. I set my keys down on the entry table. Not in my old spot. Centered. Deliberate. I walked through the house slowly. Kitchen. Clean. Counters wiped. The citrus scent was gone. Living room. Pillows arranged. The blanket folded. The crease in the cushion had softened. But it was still there. I sat down in my spot. Felt the fabric. Waited. Footsteps in the hallway. He stopped when he saw me. "You're back." I nodded. "For a conversation." He came into the room. Sat across from me. Not too close. Not too far. He looked tired. Not dramatic? Just worn. Is she here? I asked. No. A beat. She's not coming back. I let that pass. I wasn't here to confirm that. I was here to see something else. I'm not here to argue, I said. I know. I'm here to understand what happens next. He folded his hands, mirroring mine. He noticed it. He stopped. Do you want to stay? He asked. I didn't answer right away. I looked around the room, at the lines we had drawn without naming them, at the places I had softened myself to keep things smooth. At what cost? I said. He looked down, then back up. I can change things. How? A pause. I can be more present. I nodded once. That's not a plan. He took a breath. I can ask what you need. I held his gaze. You didn't before. I thought I knew. That was the problem. Silence. Not heavy. Clear. I don't want to go back to how it was, I said. I don't either. I believed him. That didn't decide anything. I need the house to reflect me again, I said. Not a version of me that's easy. He listened. Really listened this time. No interruption. No correction. I need my routines back, I added. My choices. My pace. He nodded. I can do that. Not for me, I said. For you. A beat. If you don't change how you decide things, it will happen again. He didn't argue. He looked away. Then back. You're right. We sat with that. No rush. I'm not moving back in tonight, I said. He absorbed it. Okay. I'll come by during the week. Okay. We'll talk. He nodded. We'll talk. I stood. Walked to the hallway. Paused under the camera. I reached up. Turned it slightly. Not off. Just shifted. The angle changed. The couch stayed in frame. But the doorway did too. I wanted to see entrances. Not just positions. I went into the bedroom. Opened the closet. My clothes were there. All of them. I reached for the sweater. The one from that night. It was folded on the chair. Perfect. I picked it up. Held it. Then I unfolded it. Let the fabric fall into its natural shape. I draped it over my arm. Not neat. Just mine. I walked back to the living room. He watched me. Didn't speak. I'm taking a few things, I said. Take what you need. I nodded. I picked up the flyer from the church group. Read it. Set it down again. This time in the stack. Where it belonged. I moved to the door. Picked up my keys. Held them. No pause. No handoff. I opened the door. Stepped outside. The air felt cooler. Clearer. I closed the door behind me. Not softly. Not hard. Just closed. I stood on the porch for a moment. Looked at the street. At the houses lined up with their lights and routines. I understood something then. Stability isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of choice. I got into my car. Drove back to my mother's. The blue shutters looked the same. The second step creaked. Inside, she was in her chair. She looked up. You went back. I did. And I set my bag down. Sat across from her. We're not done, I said. She nodded. That's honest. I'm not rushing to fix it, I added. Good. I'm not disappearing into it either. She held my gaze. That's better. We sat there. The clock ticked. The light shifted. Nothing needed to be said. Later, I stood by the window. Watched the street. A neighbor returned a cart to the curb. A small thing. A normal thing. I wrapped the scarf around my neck. Not for warmth. For memory. For choice. If you've ever found yourself living a version of your life that feels easy to replace, pay attention to the quiet shifts. The small habits. The things you hand over without noticing. You don't have to make noise to take your place back. Sometimes you just have to see clearly. And choose differently. Tell me where you're watching from. And what you would have done.